All right, so be mindful of what you are putting on there in the internet world as a parent because your kids are watching, they are paying attention, they are looking. And I say that because my son, who is 12, he just, well, he didn't just do this. Well, he was talking about it today. But a couple weeks ago, um, he came to me. He said, "Mom, do you know that you're on the internet?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know that. Like, I'm on social media." And he was like, "No, have you ever Googled your name?" And I was just like, "Yeah, once, a long time ago." And he was like, I was at school and I Googled your name and you came up." He's like, "You're popular on the internet." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I claim that in Jesus' name." So your kids are watching what you do, and he just randomly decided to look me up. So you have to be mindful of like what you put out there, what you have put out there. You may want to go back and get some things off of the internet. And so since then he's been talking about it, and he's been telling his friends, like, I heard him telling his friends last week, and then he was talking about it again today after school. And he was like, "Yeah, my mom, she's popular on the internet." And he was just telling his friends, like, and she wrote a book. And the first time he mentioned it, he looked it up and showed me. And like some of my pictures came up, my book came up that I published way back in 2015, um, that I self published. And so he was talking about it again today to his friends and telling his friends, like, "My mom's on the internet. Yeah, she wrote a book." And he's like, "Yeah, she's rewriting it and she's going to publish it again." And so you have to be mindful of what your kids um, see of you because they're watching. That really showed me today that they are watching. So it took me back to my book that I did write. And one chapter in that book is called Your Lifestyle is a Ministry. And so I'm pretty much talking about like people are watching you whether you think so or not. And so in these social media days where everything we do is pretty much, posted and anybody can see what we're doing, um, like you just have to be mindful of what you put out there about yourself because you don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's going to Google you. You don't know if what you published back in 2015, like I did, when it's going to pick up and become popular. And your kids are going to look you up and they're going to be watching and seeing what you're doing, whether you think so or not. And maybe you think you're not doing good, and maybe you think, when am I going to get breakthrough and when am I going to see the fruit of what I'm doing? This is a sign of the fruit for me. And so my fruit that I put out there is showing because my son looks me up and he looks at what I'm doing and he's looking at what is posted on the internet, things that I posted, and whatever the case may be. So your lifestyle is definitely a ministry, whether you think so or not. So be mindful of what you do. Make sure that you are living the life that you claim that you live. You don't want your kids to see no pictures of you from back in the day when you was all, maybe in the club, bent over, just living a life you wasn't very proud of, and you were learning and growing and things like that. Because there may be some things that you're going to have to explain to them that they might see, about you, that you just forgot about. And so your life is always ministering to people. You are always ministering to people, whether you got hundreds of thousands of followers or you have 300 something followers like I do. Somebody is watching, somebody is looking, somebody is listening. And the most important people you want to think about who's watching and looking and listening is your children. So yes, your lifestyle is a ministry. This is a testimony of that chapter in my book, 7 Powerful Ways to Identify and Conquer Your Fears. And it also, I just had this reminder, like, when I was just inside my house, that the reason I wrote the book in the way that the chapters came, or at least the way that God gave them to me, is like I have these different chapters, like Your Lifestyle is a Ministry, or One of the chapters is, oh gosh, it'll come to me because I didn't even grab the book before I came out here. But one of the chapters is called Defeat 1 Minute, and it's talking about like procrastination and doing the things that you know you need to be doing and just being consistent in what you're doing and keep going. And I wrote the chapters in the way that I did because these areas of your life, like for instance, your lifestyle is a ministry. When you think about life in that way, you think about what you're putting out there and what people are seeing and looking at and learning about you. Um, it will definitely show you what your fears are. So if your lifestyle is a ministry and you're not putting out the things that you know you need to be putting out, whatever God told you to do, you're not being obedient, you're not living your life on purpose, that is ministering to somebody. So if you're not putting those things out there, then you're putting out counterfeit information about yourself in a sense. You're showing yourself in a way that's not true, that's not authentic, that's not real. And so it will take you back to identifying your fear of why your lifestyle isn't ministering to people in the way that it should be. Now, I'm not saying like you don't tell your story, you don't tell your testimony, because if somebody sees something of you, for instance, if my son was to see something of me that I would look back on and I'm not very proud of, the way that I would explain that to him is like, now I have to tell my story and what God brought me through, and it could be a life lesson to him. And then God gets the glory in that, because it ministered at the time, that time in my life, whatever he would see, it was ministering something that showed that I had fears within me and I was being somebody that I wasn't supposed to be. But even right now, if my lifestyle is ministering to my children, to my son, through what he sees on the internet, it helps me to look inward and also go to God and say, God, am I being the person that I'm supposed to be? Because the life that you have given me ministers to other people. It talks to other people in a way that I couldn't even imagine. And somehow through my life and my testimony, they are going to learn something and they're going to be blessed. So are they learning something through me that's not even real and not even that, and that's fake and not authentic? And if so, Lord, what if fear is taking a place in my life? What fear is it? Is it a fear of speaking up? Is it a fear of being transparent? Is it a fear of telling my story? Is it a fear of just being who you called me to be and not caring what people have to say, because the only thing I should be caring about is what you think, God? And that identifies a fear, and God will definitely show you what it is, and then you know how to attack it right at the root. So be mindful of that. Be mindful. And now I'm really like, after so many years, that was back in 2015, we're almost at 10 years because now we're in 2023. So almost 10 years later from the time that pretty much March will be, let's see, 8 years ago. So March of this year, 2023, will be 8 years since I put that book out there. And when he showed me that a couple weeks ago and he said he was Googling me, it put a fire in me, because first of all, I was like, Lord, I have not been doing what you told me to do, because you told me to start promoting that book again and putting it out there. And so now my son has questions. And so I did a little bit, but I didn't keep going and I didn't keep promoting the book. Whether I understood why or not, I got to get out of my own way and just do what you're telling me to do for reasons like this. So it identifies a fear, and it's like, okay, what is the fear of me where I'm not being obedient and I'm choosing to think my own way and feel like nobody is watching? Is it because people who know me, I think people may have something to say. I'm thinking about what people are thinking of me, and God doesn't care about all of that. But obviously that's a fear. That's one of the fears, when really I should be fearing God and fearing the fact that the people who need to hear my story and need to see the book and need to read the book and know about the book is missing what they need because I'm so worried about the people. I'm so worried about what I think people would say. And it's not even about the people that I'm worried about, which is a very small amount of people. When God has something for me and wants me to put something out there where I can minister to thousands, millions of people, whether I know it or not. Because if my son is Googling me and he's seen things from the past that I've posted, then obviously there are so many other people out there who are seeing the same things and doing the same thing. And it's not up to me whether I need to know or not. It's not about that. It's the fact that I need to be obedient and make sure that my life is ministering to other people, and attack the fears at the root that is keeping me away from my life, using my life as a ministry. So whew, God is so good, y'all. And he's using my son to remind me. And this has never happened before, where he has used like a direct connection like my son to come to me and say things like this. So that's just